Hi, everybody. This is Carol Gino here. You know what? I was reading all over a whole bunch of things, listening to the news and everything today, and I was seeing all the negative stuff that this pandemic has caused. And like a lot of things in our life, I think sometimes we have to assess whether this is a gift or a tragedy. So today, I think I want to talk about, and I hope you're wanting to listen to, what this pandemic is doing for us. It's a hard thing when you look at it, when you see all the pain that it's causing. But look at what it's exposing. Look at what it's showing us. So let's talk about the gifts. One of the things the pandemic is showing us, if we really look and not listen so much, just look. Truth. There's a truth here when we see how much all of us need the connection that we took so much for granted before. Connection to our family, to our friends, simple little things. You want to have a barbecue? Too bad. Want to go to church? Too bad. Can't do it without endangering another. And once you endanger another, then there's no safety for self. Because where does it stop once the ball starts rolling? You know? Ford taught us how to prioritize. What is it that we really want? How long have we said, I can't stand going to work every day? I can't stand. Certainly should have brought into people's mind that maybe if we want businesses to work, we're going to have health care and child care, because those things need to be considered. Because if you take that out of a society, the economy goes. Aside from the people who die, if they don't have it. You look around and you start feeling pretty powerless. And you say, we have freedom. What kind of freedom do we really have? We have to look around and see how small we are as individuals and how much larger we are as all of us if we all stick together and connect. Because individually, how are we going to fight? How are we going to fight for ourselves? Pandemic it's going to choose. We're powerless. Great way to learn humility. Because in truth of it, we can take a lot of steps to prevent it. There are some people who worked with people with COVID all the time and didn't get it. And there were some people who worked with them once and got it. So for me, there's a big destiny plan. I mean, we have to play full out. Can't pass the buck, and I don't believe that we manifest our own reality, because I think that that's a harmful thought, because then as we look at others whose life we don't think is successful, we think, they didn't manifest their own reality. Certainly, I do think we're co-creators with life. And I think how we react to our circumstances certainly creates how people respond to us and what kind of a life we're going to have. But are there some people who come in to learn the cost of suffering, to be able to bring that up to the all knowledge so we all have a clue on what that is? Yes, I believe that's true. For some, suffering is a path to God. Maybe it's time to change the narrative. Maybe it's time to begin to picture the Jesus playing with the kids instead of hanging on the cross. But that's not what's happening now. What's happening now is we're being called on to recreate a better society, one that considers all of God's children, the children, including those who don't believe. I forgive my kids a lot of stuff they do. Do you think a God who was bigger and smarter, one that was worth even praying to or worshiping, was not capable of the kind of forgiveness or understanding that we are? It makes no sense. I think our real job here, when we think of enlightenment, because enlightenment is a big deal. It's an eye-opener. But it's not what it's cracked up to be. Because it's not going to get you out of your pain and suffering except by taking you around your emotional body, and that's going to come back at you at some point. So you got to work through the whole physical and emotional being first before you get to the soul level where you get an aha and it wakes you up. Because if you're holding on to stuff in your emotional body that you haven't worked through and cleared and taken responsibility and forgiven other people for having some of the same flaws you did, believe me, enlightenment is not going to help you. It's not enlightenment. Enlightenment, the whole thing about being awakened, is that you know that being awakened means looking at your life the way it is, accepting it the best way you can, and doing the best with it you can. I made a lot of mistakes. A lot more mistakes than I could even, too many pages. I would take a roll of toilet paper to write them. A lot, but you know what it gave me? Every one of those mistakes showed me what I had to work on, and what it taught me was not to judge anyone else. Because I know how good a person I am. Should have seen some of the things I did. Anyway, humility is part of what this is going to give us. But while we're feeling powerless in some things, let's look around and figure out, what is it that we have? What are our gifts? Hey, tell stories. You know how everybody talks about, hey, look at that guy, he hit this, he did a 3-minute mile. Is it 3 or 4 minutes? I don't know. But every one of us look to those people who can break through whatever barriers we think we have. And then the rest of us feel able to do that too. Tell your stories. Because in every one of our stories, there's a heroic journey. Everybody's fighting something that the rest of us have no clue about unless we tell. When we tell and we say what we've learned, then we share that vision with somebody else. You know, try it with any of your friends or family. Take a look out your window, and each of the people there choose 2 things that they can see. At the end of looking out the window, turn to each other and share your 2 things. If you're standing with even only one other person, when you look out that window, every time you look out that window afterwards, you're going to see the 2 things you saw and the 2 things the other person saw. That's how we widen our vision. That's how we grow. That's how we get to know ourselves. That's how we start to feel safe when we know ourselves, because we're not other. And once we know ourselves, we can look at the other and know the other is self. It's time to wake up, grow up, take part, live before you're dead. I mean, death is probably a hell of a lot easier than living. I know a lot of people who are afraid of death, but I had a couple of near-death experiences. Let me tell you, scary a little bit, to be truthful. But when I got to really where I was going, it was terrific. It wasn't as hard as life. Don't worry about death. Most of the time now, most of us are pretty numb. Probably deader than we're ever going to be. So wake up, live, learn about yourself. First thing you know is your body, soul, and spirit. What do you know about your soul? Everybody talks about it. What do you know? Set up a relationship. Sit with yourself for 5 minutes and say, hey, what do you like? What do you hate? And then after a while, you begin to see you got a lot of thoughts going on there that are running in the background, like using up your memory. Get to know your soul. Get to know yourself. Get to know each other. And realize that's the big deal for us. Set your priorities. Breathing is a good thing. Take a deep breath. Whenever things get really, really tense, 3 deep breaths. Takes the starch out of everything. You'll be able to relax a little bit. Don't be afraid. This is offering us as much as it takes away. And I know the people who have lost people don't feel that way yet. But I think I've read an awful lot of articles, and I know it myself, We got 80% of our brain that's uncharted territory. We are growing new connections. We are going to be able to hear and feel more than we are now. We are evolving. This is it. Know yourself, and then you can move on to the next step. It's got to be better. You know that. Look at the world as we have it. Shadows right in your face now, no more denial. Let's handle what we can, and let's be better when we can. Okay? Mwah! Talk to you soon.